Hey, what's up, Costco underquilt builders? Here's a quick video on how to create an overstuff condition in your conversion. So we got here is a quilt that has been stitch ripped on the long dimension, and I'm folding these ends over to create channels. But before I fold them over to create channels, I shake and push all the down in towards the center. And then the fold is 1/2 of one square. So this distance, once I run a stitch along here, is one full square. So you end up with all the down from these squares back into the center of the quilt. That's 28 total squares, 28 total of these little pieces of down back into the quilt, because there's 14 of them this way, and of course 14 on the other side. And since the quilt is 60 inches wide, doing this little fold, it reduces the quilt dimension, but it only reduces it by about 5 inches total. Each square is 5 inches wide, and I'm folding the outer square in half, so the total reduction in length is only 5 inches. So you still have a nice, really wide, 55 inches wide, but you have overstuffed. And then the reasoning on leaving the shoulder to shoulder panels is because one of the dimensions we can control easily on the quilt is the distance between your head and your foot by adjusting the cord locks on either end. So what that does is kind of butts these panels, like it butts them together where the remaining stitching is, because now the remaining stitching is still a point of inefficiency on the quilt because it's thin, there's puncture marks, and basically because there's no loft right there. So you can slightly overcome that by controlling this dimension, and leaving the tubes going like this allows you to kind of butt the tubes together a little bit when the underquilt is hanging, and that will overcome slightly this inefficiency. If the quilt was stitch ripped the other way, you wouldn't be able to control that as much, because the distance that it has to go, under your hammock is pretty much going to stay the same. This way, if you have cord locks on the end, you can pull the ends in a little bit, and that will basically stop the quilt from pulling and squeezing the insulation, and it'll butt these up. Another thing too is when you pull on this, it's closing these up. So like if I have tension here and I pull tight, it's going to want to close these chambers up, so I can reduce the tension and the chambers will open up more.